Welcome to those folks coming in and joining us as attendees. I see we have about 20 people right now. Maybe we'll wait a minute or so just to allow people time to get in. Okay, well, our numbers seem to be stabilizing around 40 people right now, but certainly people can continue to come in and join us. Hi, I'm Larry Sullivan. I know many of you have attended past PFA meetings that we've had or faculty, or I should say parent meetings. Welcome. And welcome to the new year, new semester. Your students now have one semester under them as ninth graders here, and certainly I think this gives us a good opportunity to touch base and talk about where things are headed right now for your students at the end of a semester and starting to think about their plan for next year and the years after. And obviously, if there are any questions or issues that are arising for your ninth grader or you, certainly for us to try to address them. As in the past, we do have the question and the answer option at the bottom. If people would like to put in questions as we go along, and we'll try to answer them. And if there are things we don't necessarily have the answers for today, we'll certainly get those. I have the pleasure of being joined by our PFA chairs for the ninth grade, Mary Lydon and Kristen Toner. And Cindy Rivera is with us. She's our Director of School Counseling, and she'll be talking quite a bit not quite a bit, Cindy, I don't mean to, that sounds pejorative. She'll really be helping us out today to understand the scheduling process for the ninth graders. We're lucky to have Jay Egan with us, who is our athletic director and our head of PE and health, and he'll be talking about those things for your ninth graders today. And we also have Principal Bill Egan with us today, who's here to say hi as well. So Bill, do you just want to maybe start us off and say hello?
Absolutely. First of all, I'd like to welcome everybody. It's hard to believe that we're just about to enter the month of March. You know, it's been about a year since this pandemic started. And truthfully, this hasn't been easy on anyone, you know, whether you're a student, whether you're a parent, whether you're a staff member, it has not been easy. But honestly, I don't think there's been a better community to handle the education piece better than we've done in New Canaan. You know, truthfully, I'm really proud of the work that our kids put in each and every day. You know, they truly have demonstrated a love for coming to school and really wanting to be in school. You know, that's one, I guess, bright side of the pandemic is that it's kind of changed how you feel about coming to school and how people feel, I think, about school. You know, the schoolhouse is a really welcome place and people want their kids to be there and the kids want to be there. And really in New Canaan, we're very fortunate because our teachers really want to have the kids here every day too. You know, right now we're in a hybrid plus. We'll see how we evolve as the year goes on. But really, I just want to give kind of a shout out to everyone because truly it took all of us to kind of pull this year off. And it's a testament to the support of the parents in the community and really our kids and how talented and hardworking they are and how much they really actually love school. So I just want to say thank you and welcome to another meeting. Hopefully, you know, things will become, I guess, more and more normal as time goes on. And you know, I just want to thank everybody for the hard work that they've kind of put in. You know, as a parent, this hasn't been easy trying to navigate your children through this, whether the emotional journey or the academic journey. But it really hasn't been easy. So thank you to you. Thank you most importantly to your kids. And really, I thank you to our staff for kind of making this happen as well. So welcome, and I hope you enjoy the meeting. It's going to, I'm sure, it would be wonderful. You hear about some great things of opportunities, whether it be with sports. And I know Cindy's really going to navigate course selection, which is of interest to all of you. So have a great meeting. I will be here. I may be in the background. My video may be off, but I will be here listening. So thank you. Bye, guys.
Great. Thanks, Bill. Yeah, it's important, I know, for all of us to remember, and I think this is especially true for people who are first time parents to the high school, that this is a really abnormal year in transition for students, our ninth grade students. I think I've said before, I have a ninth grader at home going to a different district, and I think about the potential of what school can be for him in the next few years, when we're back to some greater sense of normalcy. And I know some of the things we're all wrestling with as parents at this point is, how do we get our kids engaged and connected, and we'll be talking about some of those ideas as well today. So thanks, Bill. All right, I am going to share my screen because I have the kind of overall PowerPoint, and it has some links that are connected through our website to help you understand, as we said, course selection, options for next year, sort of the roadmap ahead for your kids for the next 3.5 years. And hopefully you'll find this informative and know where to find some of these things going forward. So let me share my screen and get to that. Go to present mode here. Okay, so the first thing we're going to really kind of talk about is the course selection process, and Cindy will walk us through this. I know that much of this information has already been shared with students, and she'll show you the website that can help you understand it as well.
Can I do the pressing here? Not sure that I can.
If not, tell me and I will do.
I can't. Go ahead.
Okay, so I guess you need to give me access. Sorry.
Oh, well, isn't this interesting?
You should be able to do it, Cindy, because you are a co-host, I think.
All right, then I think you have to stop sharing and I have to get in then.
Aha. All right. Let me see.
It's always technology when we get to this.
Yes.
Well, it's amazing the amount of things that we learn as we've gone through this, even as the adults. But yeah, that's exactly right. I think you need to stop sharing, and then
Okay.
Cindy would take over.
All right. I am stopping the share.
And I'll start the share. There we go. Okay, hi everyone, and thanks again for coming today. I am going to show you what we've done with your kids already. We had a freshman meeting. Each counselor met with their freshmen in a group. I think it was about 2 weeks ago now. It was right before break, so that Wednesday before break. Each of us probably had 50 to 60% of our students. So if this looks unfamiliar to you, it's okay. We will go through with this again, and the tutorial is on the website. So we've shared it in Mr. Egan's weekly update the last few weeks, the link. So if there's any problems with this, you can certainly look at it again. But we did show your students that they can go in and look at the class registration icon that is now available. It wasn't there before, and now it is. And they can see what teachers have recommended for them for next year. They can look at this. We instructed them on going in and seeing each department and choosing a course to decide to see what they've been recommended for, click on the box and pick that course. We also told the students that if they've been recommended for one course but might like a higher level course, they will need to go through the appeals process. Now this is confuse them because they say, I can't find the appeals link. And the appeals link is right here, but it's called Request for Reconsideration of Placement. We were very wordy when we first made this, and so it has been shortened to the appeals process, and then kids can't find it. So just remind them it's right here on the same page. They can click on that link and go to the section that they need to write an appeal. Now, we had sent out a reminder last week asking kids to do a preliminary schedule. It is not set in stone until April 1st. They can go in and make changes, but we wanted them to put a first round of selections in because counselors are going to meet with them one-on-one through March to talk about what they're thinking about, what they're planning for, what they want to do. So the first round, we're asking them to do it this weekend so we can take a look at what they're thinking about. Appeals are not due until April 1st either. So we have the entire month of March to really look at this and configure it. So I don't want anyone to feel in a panic because we've asked them to make that preliminary schedule. I did say this in all these emails that I've been sending out, but a lot of times people don't hear all those things. So I just wanted to remind you all of that. In choosing their electives, in the same way, we ask them to pick some primary electives, pick some backup electives, and to order them in the way, according to how they most want their courses, the priorities. After this process is done, we make a master schedule, and the master schedule is based on what kids are interested in taking. So if your student wants to change their mind over the summer, well, the sections have been made for the courses that they have selected to begin with. So we want them to think carefully about it. In this last year with pandemic and everything else, we've tried to reduce some class sizes to keep that social distancing. So there's not a lot of room for changing your mind. So we give this whole month of March to think carefully about this. And then if they change their mind in the summer or later in the spring, sometimes it just can't happen. So we try our best to give kids their first two choices, and the majority of kids get those first two choices. And now that your kids will be sophomores, they will have more of a priority than when they were eighth graders getting this. So I just want to make sure that they go through this and be very careful about it. Then finally, if you have any problems with understanding how to do the tutorial, if you go to the part of our website, the school counseling website, which is under the student tab, there's a school counseling website, then there is a course registration tutorial that you can click on. You will get the whole me speaking to you about how to do this, and then also the elective videos if you want to look at and understand what the different videos are. So there's a lot there. So I'm really hoping you'll take a look at that and work with your kids on that. There'll be multiple emails going home around this, but we're getting started. We start with the juniors going into English classes and getting them set up. And then we go to the freshmen and sophomores through their PE class. We go into the classes and pull the kids in one-on-one to review their selections and talk to them about what they're thinking of, where their goals are, what they're planning on.
Cindy, we had a question in the chat, the question and answer. If a student is in the process of making an appeal, they still register for the recommended class, correct? And then if the appeal is granted, that's changed by the counselor.
That is correct. So actually, what we've asked the students to do is talk to their teacher about why they weren't recommended for that higher level course. What issues were there? What does the teacher want to see in the third quarter as they move forward? Do they want to see the student more engaged in classwork? Do they want to see better homework completion, better attendance? What were the issues that kept them from getting that honors class to begin with? And then the student can work towards that. And then following the third quarter, we review appeals, and the counselors talk with department chairs. Department chairs talk back with the teachers again to say, has there been a change in how the child is doing? Can we now recommend them? And so that is the process from this end of what's going on. So yes, click what they've been currently recommended for, talk to the teacher about what they want to see, speak to that in their appeals about what they're doing to improve, and then we'll work on it from there.
Thank you. All right. I am going to unshare Cindy, and I will jump on and review the course of study guide and graduation standards, and then Cindy will come back to talk about sort of how does a school counselor work with a student and family to track these things as they go forward. So I am now going to share my screen back.
Hopefully we can just do it from now on.
There we go. And talk about the course of study guide. So on our website, this is under students, you can find the course of study guide. And this is really a listing of all of the classes that are available to our students. And it's broken down by different departments. So if you're looking over here on the side, you'll see the overall academic expectations. These would be, all of the things students need to do and demonstrate in order to earn a diploma over the course of 4 years, the academic supports that are available to them, and then the different departments that offer courses. Now, in many cases, for your 9th graders going into 10th grade, as we said, there will be already recommended courses by the next in their sequence. So if they're taking freshman English, they're going to move into sophomore English. If they're taking Algebra 1, they're going to move into geometry. So many of these at this point for your students are sequential, and they'll keep moving in that direction. Now, as we said, what can change might be the level that a student is taking something at, and either the teacher could be making a recommendation for a student to take it at a more challenging level, a faster paced level, or it can also happen that a teacher may recommend that a student scale back slightly.
Good morning, teachers. This is NCTV. It's that time. Please join us right now for today's live broadcast.
Now I know we're competing. You really want to tune in for the live broadcast of the TV. But so for most of the academic subjects, students are going to continue within a sequence. As Cindy said, where they really will have some choices will be with their electives. So it could be here with the career and tech ed, and you can click on that and see detailed descriptions of some of the options available to students. Again, in many cases, they may have started a course that has a sequence that they want to continue in. So in terms of business, you can see that you can take different business classes at different levels. So you can also do the same with many of our family and consumer classes as well. So the electives will be an important place. These would be courses, as I said, career and tech ed, classes in the arts, in VPA down below here, that they can more elect. And you'll see, as we said, some of these that are broken down into the more introductory, and maybe your 9th grader already took some classes in the introductory realm already this year. If not, perhaps next year will be the year they do so, versus moving into the more advanced classes. Okay. So again, that is under school information on our website. Now, the next slide, or the next link, I should say, really breaks out the graduation standards that apply to your students in the class of 2024. So this may, even if you've had older students who have gone through, this may look a little different than you remember from the past, because the state did introduce new expectations for graduation. that apply to our current sophomores and our current ninth graders. So in terms of the graduation standards, this you will find in the course of study in the first section. I've just broken this out separately for you because in the course of study, we still have the expectations for our juniors and seniors, and then separately for our ninth and 10th graders. So this is the one that applies to your ninth graders. So they need 9 credits in the humanities, and some of these will be, of course, determined automatically. They need 4 credits in English, they need 3 credits in social studies, and that must include 2 semesters of US history as well as 1 semester of civics. And then you'll notice down below, they can really make some other choices as to what applies for their humanities. So 3 semesters within world language beyond 1 year, graphics, business, or family and consumer sciences. These would all count for humanities grades for a student. In terms of the next level, they need 9 within the STEM field: science, technology, engineering, and math. So 3 years of math, 3 years of science. And again, at this point, most of your students are progressing through a sequence, whether it is from Algebra 1 to Geometry to Algebra 2. But as they go along, they can make choices about the math classes they get into more toward their junior and or senior year. So then they need a half credit of career and tech ed, a semester of that, and then some combination of 2.5 credits within technology-based VPA courses. Here is where their health and wellness and physical ed come in, and Jay can speak a little bit later to how your students have started that process already this year with their first semester of health and now being engaged in PE. The world language requirement is a new one. So for graduation now, every student needs at least 1 year of a world language. As Cindy will tell you, most of our students, do way beyond that. We very often have students who complete 4 years in a world language, but they have to have at least the one. The mastery-based diploma assessment is something where they are currently putting together work and products that will ultimately become something of a portfolio for them to display these attributes of a graduate. And then, as we said, they can do all sorts of combinations of other career and tech classes, visual and performing arts of others. And this all gets them now, by the time they complete senior year, to 25 total credits. Okay. Just to go back, and I think now I will
I think
stop.
you can get the credit list for me there.
Well, that's a great idea. Thank you.
Yeah.
So Cindy will kind of talk us through how a counselor tracks this information.
So Larry went through the distribution pretty well, so I don't need to go through that again, but basically what you need to graduate is often different from what you need to get into selective colleges. So we are looking at both of those things as we work with your students for 4 years. So we're keeping track that they're getting the credits they need, but we're also working with them going forward to make sure that meets their needs and goals for after high school. So in doing all of this, your kids, obviously for freshman and sophomore year, they're on track. We're making sure that they have, most students have 5 core subjects. They have PE and health, and they have an elective each semester. We're finding that the humanities credits that they need to get to the 9 is relatively easy. Most kids do 4 4 years of social studies. They have to do 4 years of English. And then world language after the first year also counts towards those 9 credits. So they'll have plenty of those. The harder piece is the STEM credits, because students generally will have, even though 3 is the requirement, they'll take 4 years. Science, 3 is the requirement. That's a mix. Some kids take 3 years, some kids take 4 years. So that only gets you to 7 for some of those kids. So we are looking at the career and tech ed more carefully to make sure that they will get those credits in. So you will find us as counselors talking to them more about some of those career and tech ed classes if we don't think they're going to get to 4 years of science. So we're looking at that, and we're working very closely with the kids. I saw a quick question in the Q&A while Larry was talking, about, can you hold off doing a VPA till later because you have a student who's primarily interested in the STEM courses? Absolutely. We just make sure they get it in that last year. So we're always looking at this. We're always tracking that. And so far, the kids are in really good shape. So there's no worries just yet about any of that. They should really think about what they're hoping to take and what goals they have. And this is what we talk to them about. They starting to have an interest in something, and we move them towards all of that.
Cindy, are you ready for the academic roadmap?
Sure, absolutely. So we met with your students in the fall, and we put together this academic roadmap with them. So we did send a copy of that home to you, so we hope you saw that. Some kids, we've all met with the majority of our students. There should only be a handful that we weren't able to meet with. Just stuff happens that they didn't were able to come in. So if you haven't seen this, please get in touch with your counselor, and we will make sure that we finish up if we haven't. But we've put together sort of a list of what they should do over the 4 years to get where they need to go. And every student has a different trajectory. So no 2 students are the same. And we work with them where they are now, and we move them forward each year according to what their interests are. So hopefully you had a chance to look at that. We come back to this every year and review it as kids find subjects they like, find subjects they don't like, and we adjust accordingly so that by the time they get to senior year, they're really focused on interests and goals, and their schedule reflects that in a lot of ways. So each year we work with them to understand themselves as learners and understand themselves as people. And what does that mean for them moving forward in terms of their interests, possible career interests, possible majors? So we are continuing to work with them, and you'll hear more about that, of course, as we go on. So just so you see this and know that that is something that exists.
Okay. So I know, obviously, your students now have 1 semester under their belt of high school, and already many people are thinking, well, what about after high school? And I think Cindy was going to talk to us a little bit about what if your student had a great first semester, and what does that mean? Or what if your student, particularly in the times we're living in, perhaps high school didn't start out as well as they would like. What does that mean at this point?
Right. And we've had a lot of kids in all different places this year. It's been difficult for testing and assessments. It's been difficult for transitioning in and getting used to how we do things. So it is very understandable that there might be some that students may have had some difficulty getting started. But we do want to take this time now to reflect on why that happened. Was it pandemic related, that the remote learning was difficult? The various schedules that we've been through, the ridiculous amount of changes they've had to deal with. Was it having something to do with that? Or was it they shot too high, appealed to get into high level classes, and it didn't go as well as they expected. So we really want to stop and take a look at that. And that will be how we choose for next year as well, is like, let's look at this, and do we need to back it up a little bit and make sure your child is successful. To me, it's worse to have low grades in higher level classes, that, meaning C's, not A minuses. But if they're really struggling in those higher level classes, do we have to reflect on that, and make some changes for next year? You don't want your child to continue to have that sort of, to be in struggling or needing to have tutors to stay at a certain level constantly. Then that is just setting your child up for having a tough time in high school. What you do want to, so we do want to look at that. If your child has done well this first semester and really ready for more challenge, that's where that whole appeals process is coming through. Sometimes teachers are just keeping kids at the same level from year to year and waiting for that appeals process to really stop and look and go to the next level for each student. But if they already are already in very top level classes, how do you maintain that? You don't necessarily have to take on more if you've already done well and your child feels good. We really look as a child goes forward. If they have a certain subject area that they are strong in and they're going to the highest levels, then what are they doing outside of the classroom to also pursue the interests in those areas? If you have a writer, are they joining the journalism class or taking on Spectator magazine and becoming an editor to that? If you have someone who loves sports analysis in the games, would they be, and they're not an athlete, would they like to possibly join TV broadcasting and get involved in that way to do it a little bit more? They love music and they're really into their instrument. So are they joining a rock band? What are they doing around that? If they want to write music, what are they doing around those things? So we can focus them a little bit. So they're pursuing it. They're exploring those opportunities in a different way. Because the ultimate goal is not to just have the most APs you can possibly have. That's not particularly interesting to colleges. What's interesting is how you've developed as a person beyond just the courses you've taken in high school. So, and especially now, that's very important when SATs and ACTs are becoming much less important to schools.
Right. And I know, Cindy, that you speak often of the fact that colleges value that student who has the upward trend throughout their academic career, that nobody expects that a ninth grader is going to come in and necessarily have a stellar first semester. So take where your student is now as a benchmark, as a moment in time, but realize that as they go forward and they understand more the demands of high school and they rise to those, that's something that as they're looking at post-secondary is really valued.
Correct. Absolutely. That's always a big thing for them, is that upward trend. And this will always be the pandemic year, for them. Freshman year, it'll be always something that as counselors will be reminding colleges about, but colleges will be aware that for this year was a different year for the freshmen. And hopefully by next year, we'll get to a more normal existence that we can really address, have them come back into the school and know who they are. I think with 75% of the kids in, now it's feeling more like a school environment, and the kids are getting, it's becoming more normal in a lot of ways for kids, and that'll be really helpful as we talk with kids in March about next year.
So I know one of the things I think we all miss is that sense of normalcy and kids not being able to connect in even the informal ways that traditionally they would. Jay is going to speak with us in a few minutes about athletics, and your ninth graders haven't had that experience of going to a football game or supporting a team that's competing in person. So I think those are all things we definitely want to see. We also know that for many students, midway through the year becomes a tough time, that they will perhaps have a little bit of a slump or the blahs now. So I think those are things we're all aware of. If you're concerned about your student in a particular class or overall, please reach out to a specific teacher if you see a kid struggling with a particular class. And if you have more overall concerns, your student's counselor is really a great resource to help with some of that. I agree with Cindy. I think it has been great for us to be able to scale up to now have 75% in the building, and it does have a little more sense of normalcy, and hopefully that has helped your student to perhaps be in classes and be able to interact here with friends that they weren't initially with, and being able to reestablish some of those bonds and connections. This semester for ninth graders will tend to look a lot like last semester. They don't tend to change classes midway through the year, with the exception of where they had health last semester. They'll have PE this semester, and perhaps they picked up or changed electives. But otherwise, those connections that they established in their core classes should still be there. And in fact, as I said, perhaps even expanded with some other students now in the classroom who weren't there through the first half of the year. We do still have a very active club and activity and co-curricular program. And I just want to remind people of that. If you're feeling your student is not connecting, just remind you of some of the opportunities that are there. I'm going to click on this link. This is under our webpage under students and co-curricular activities. And this is something that is updated regularly. As you see, this was last updated in December. But I wanted to draw your attention particularly if your student is looking for a connection or is not sure, or you want to encourage that. Most of our organizations here have created a little introductory clip so that it gives an overview of the group. It gives some people they can connect with. So as you're scrolling through this, it's broken down by interests and hobbies, by cultural connections, service clubs, leadership opportunities. But I just wanted to draw your attention, anywhere you're seeing these blue hyperlinks, that will give you a short video of what the club's focus is, and who some of the leaders are and connections. The other thing you'll notice here is how are these groups working. So you'll see a lot of them are not necessarily meeting in person, but they're meeting via Zoom. And some of them are meeting in person. Basically, the rule is if it's a smaller group, and they can still socially distance. But please, take a look at this when you have some time. Sit down with your student if there are different areas they're interested in, so that they can feel that sense of connection that we are missing, and we all want them to have as much as they can during this difficult time. Okay. And next up, I believe, is Jay. So I will stop sharing right now, and Jay will fill us in a little bit on what's been going on with athletics, and also with the change that ninth graders have had now in moving into PE and those expectations. Thank you.
first of all. Good morning, everyone. I'm happy to be here to talk to you about what's going on. First of all, with athletics, I think it's interesting this morning that there's been some conversation about the ninth graders not really experiencing, the culture and the traditions of New Canaan High School, and that's something that we've noticed all year. And I'm thinking about next year and thinking that we're basically going to have, two groups: the incoming ninth graders and the ninth graders that are here, but it'll be their first time through a normal school year as far as all our routines and traditions are concerned. So, it's pretty, it's 50% of the student population, that'll be brand new. So that's kind of interesting to think about. The other thing that we've noticed, there's been some other conversation here this morning about students engaging, re-engaging with school and, missing those connections. And I've really seen that firsthand with the restarts for the fall season and the winter athletics season. It's, I don't want to say that the students weren't enthusiastic or the athletes weren't enthusiastic prior to this year, but there is a little difference. I think there's an appreciation of something that they missed, which is very interesting for the coaches, and for me to observe. The athletes are happy to be at practice. They're happy to, almost looking at it as the privilege of getting back, somewhat to normal. So it's been really great to see that. We're working our way through some COVID issues. We've had a few things happen to us, not directly to our athletes, but quarantines as a result of teams that we've played. So, it's definitely been a different year. But, I do think that silver lining of the really deep appreciation for what they're doing has been very interesting to see. So we look forward to a fairly normal spring, given if everything stays the way it is. We have really positive health metrics. We have many of our activities outside, outdoors, which is always better than indoors. So as far as our programming in the spring, it'll be pretty much what it would have been without COVID, as far as the scope of the activities that will be offered. There's no sport at this point that will not be offered. There's no sport at this point that won't have it's almost a full competitive season. Because of the pause in the winter, we will start spring sports on March 27th. And the regular season of spring sports will end just before the Memorial Day weekend. There are playoffs set for our league, which is the Fairfield County Interscholastic Athletic Conference, and the CIAC also has a playoff set in all of our sports, and those will all wrap up on or about June 13th. So we're planning full speed ahead and full programming as far as spring sports are concerned. I will mention with the looking for places to connect, and the clubs are really a great place to connect. That's, I think, a good thing. If you're looking for another place, if your son or daughter is looking for another place to connect, typically boys and girls outdoor track has really been a very non-threatening way for young people to get involved in athletics. There's 13 events. There's all kinds of running events, from long events to short events. There's jumping events. There's 3 jumping events. There's 3 throwing events. So it really is a lot for everyone. They have 1 meet per week, which everyone gets to participate in. They generally practice every day of the week. And there's a lot of subgroups within track teams that can be places for kids to connect. So that would be something else that I would let you think about. If you're trying to direct your son or daughter to an activity. the change in health and physical education is really a redistribution of physical education time to health and safety. We believe that it's a really important part of holistic education. Although it's not directly academic, there are a lot of different things that are a part of the health curriculum that, have to do with social and emotional health, and the awareness of these aspects of social and emotional health that, frankly, young people, might not think about on their own. So, it's a real, I'm actually glad that they've redistributed. I'm sad to lose the physical education piece, but I think that it's very timely and important that the health education, the health and safety piece, is something that is going to be preserved as compulsory part of high school experience for young people. It gives us the opportunity to also do things like CPR and first aid within those courses that we might not have had time for before. So we think we have a very robust program. We think that we're glad to have the time with the increase of a quarter for both the freshmen and for the sophomores, to give us time to do some of these really important, I would say, holistic educational activities. So that's what I know about athletics, which is all good news. And the thing that I was just got some information here this morning during the meeting, they are going to recommend mask use again for all spring sports. So when we travel, we use masks. When we, so the social distancing and the mask use is still in effect. It looks like we may be playing with masks in the spring, and I thought that it might be more like the fall, where we weren't using masks when we played. We were just using masks to, on the sidelines and in travel, and in those particular situations. But it looks like it's going to be everybody will be in masks. And just the last thing that I would say is our kids, our athletes, young people have been really, really good and really cooperative with all our COVID safety measures. And it's not easy. We're playing basketball in masks. Basketball is hard enough without masks. It's an activity where, kids are running as fast as they can, as hard as they can for a long time. And we're playing hockey in masks, and the kids, when they swim, they bring their masks with them in these little containers. And when they get out of the pool, they put their masks on first thing before they walk to the sidelines, So the compliance has been really great. And the cooperation, just to echo what Bill said earlier, cooperation on the part of the families and everybody through a very difficult time has been very positive. And it's made, for us, for me particularly, it's made a difficult situation, a lot easier. So I'll just answer any questions as we get towards the end here that anybody might have. And again, thanks for all your help and cooperation.
Thanks, Jay. Yeah, I agree. There's been, so much goodwill on the part of students here in terms of following the protocols. So that's been great. Jay, most of the athletic conditioning will, particularly for spring sports, will be outside, right?
Yes. Yes, it will. That's actually an interesting point that you bring up. One thing that we've noticed, and it's not necessarily, we haven't noticed it to a great degree in New Canaan, but around the state, one of the things that people are really concerned about is because in this age group, there's been a lack of activity in general, that their conditioning, their level of conditioning as they're starting their activities is lower than it normally would be, so that's just a discretionary thing on the part of the coaches. our athletes are generally active, all the time, and their conditioning level is usually, I think, above average. But we have noticed it with our athletes as well. But we do have our preseason programming that would be outside. We're not using our fitness center yet on a regular basis, but we think that at some point, we're having some discussion about this now, but we think at some point early in April, that we might bring that back on as an option. But that's a real confined space, and it has to be done, with a lot of caution.
Right. And I think of particular interest probably to our ninth grade parents is that now this semester their students are doing PE. They had health first semester, and now this semester is their PE. So hopefully some of that activity will translate for them as well.
Yeah.
Okay. In general, we have just a few other questions about not so much athletics, but Cindy certainly chime in about well, I would say it's really about balancing schedules. Should sophomores, have every period filled with an elective, or do we recommend that they have some free time?
Yeah, I still go by the philosophy that they should have one free period. I think with the way the schedule works, they generally have 1.5 because PE and health do not run the full blocks. But it does seem that kids need that time for working on projects or working with students or just having some time away. It's fine. They will get to their 25 credits without filling their schedule with everything. It's a little different if they are students who want to take, for example, a full year of orchestra and still want to get that career and tech ed class in, or, are working towards that. We may be filling their schedule semester here or there, but we will plan for that ahead of time. So I think they're okay.
Good. And just a question we had about whether all classes have recommendations. My understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, that if there's not been a change in the recommendation, the student and the parent should assume they'll continue at the same level they're in.
Yes, that's correct. You won't see a recommendation at the top of the recommendation page. You'll have to go to each department, say the English department, go to the right to that little pencil icon and click on that, and you'll see that they're in freshman English. Maybe the sophomore English is the next plan for them, and they still have to click on that and go there, but there should be something for them to click on. If they don't have anything, then yes, reach out to the teacher or your counselor to get something in there, but it should be there for them.
Thank you. And a question about the status of the block schedule that we've operated under this year. Yes, the intention is that will continue next year as well. So not going back to a traditional schedule that has been here, but maintaining the 80-minute blocks for next year as well. Okay.
That's what I'm hearing. And I did see a question before from a parent who was a first-time parent of a freshman. Could they, have talked to the counselor about the course selection before it's all etched in stone? Of course, we do not do it routinely, so it's not an automatic. But certainly, if you have questions and want to, email or call your child's counselor, that makes perfect sense to have that discussion.
Good. All right. Let me see one more question. Will the status of the half days, will they continue for the rest of the year? And Bill, I'm going to pull you in on this. My understanding at this point is they're continuing through the end of March.
Right now, they're continuing through the end of March. Most likely, they'll continue beyond that, but that's a discussion with Brian and the Board of Education. So I'm sure they'll have that decision in the upcoming weeks. But right now, it's continuing through March, with the anticipation that it would probably continue beyond that as well.
Yeah, good. Great. Thank you. Well, I hope that this morning's session helped parents understand sort of the process students are going through now and where things are headed in the next couple of months in terms of courses and selecting courses and scheduling, as well as how this process fits into the bigger picture of where they're going over the next 3.5 years. I hope you've found some ways, if you're concerned your student isn't as connected or engaged, some steps to take with them, whether through our co-curricular program, our athletic program. Certainly, I know all of the folks you see on the screen who work in the high school, if you have individual questions, are happy to be resources for you as we move forward. So thank you all. I hope everybody has a wonderful weekend and stays healthy and well. And as we move toward the very good news of vaccinations. Thank you.
Thank you.